My first question is going to be for Miss Felisha Loud. And Miss Felisha, you wear many hats, and you are best known for your on-air personality as a leading Caribbean radio host. However, your latest project is a children's book that I was just talking about entitled Autism Awesomeness, The Adventures of Princess Africa, based on the story of your daughter, Africa, who is autistic. In Jamaica, education for special needs children, especially those children with autism, is very scarce. And one school that is making strides in educational opportunities for autistic children is the Adonia School. And the Adonia School was founded by a young teacher, Lue-Hing James, and the school is approved, regulated, and monitored by the Jamaican Ministry of Education, and it caters to the autistic and special needs of children. And Lue-Hing was inspired by the lack of resources available to autistic and special needs children, just as you were frustrated with some of the experiences you had with your daughter. So I just wanted to ask you, what inspired you to write this book and to go on this journey?
Well, is it working? Yes.
can hear her?
We're good?
Thank
okay.
you.
Okay, so in regards to my inspiration, as a radio personality and an actress, I know it's fun when people listen to me. It's entertaining. You laugh. You go about your day. But the older I got, I realized that there has to be something more that I'm talking about other than just entertaining you lightly on the radio. And I wanted to talk about something that means something to me. So when I'm speaking about it, the conviction, the experience, and the motivation behind it comes from a real place. I couldn't figure out what that was until my daughter was born. When she was born actually in Florida at St. Mary's Hospital. There's a long story, which I probably will do a book about that, about how she came into the world and the difficulties that I faced at the hospital. But that's a different situation. With her turning 1 year old, her daycare looked at me. They said, Felisha, please don't be offended or feel any kind of way, but I've been doing some research and your daughter is showing signs of autism. Now, as a Jamaican and a mom, I was very offended. Because that's one thing about us Jamaicans. We are very, very brilliant people, but our pride gets in the way a lot of times. So the moment she told me that, I went home. I said to my husband, this is foolishness. She thought, well, something wrong with my pitney, nothing wrong with my pitney. So I said to myself, all right, she explained some of the things she saw. And in my head, I'm like, all right, that just means I should get her in a school, an actual school, instead of a daycare. So they could teach her things that I can't teach her because I'm working. I take her to the school, register her. 2 weeks into school, the teacher pulls me aside and says, Felisha, Africa is not responding. Her name is Africa. Africa is not responding to her name. She has no eye contact. Her walking on her toes, she's a toe walker. It makes her center of gravity off balance, so she falls a lot. She doesn't interact with the other kids. And she's very clingy. She doesn't want to do anything that she doesn't want to do. She's very self-directed. So I said, lady, where I try to say? That's when she said, we think you should have her evaluated. I'm like, what does that mean? She said, we think Africa might be on a spectrum of autism. And that's when I started crying in front of the principal, the teacher, the therapist, everybody. Because at this point, another complete stranger is telling me the same thing the daycare told me 2 weeks prior. So this is when I said, no, okay, this is not going to be about me anymore. What is it I need to do? They said, well, if you call 311, you can ask for an early intervention package. They'll send it to you, you fill it out, and you get free therapy. I say, as long as it's therapy and I'm not giving my child no medication, I will look into it. I did that. The psychologist came. They did her evaluation. The psychologist looked at me and she said, Felisha, with all of what we found here today, Africa is on the spectrum of autism. She will receive free therapy. And Africa got speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, pretend play therapy, and an ABA teacher. All of that. About 25 to 35 hours a week, some of which was done at home and some in the classroom. Now, when the therapist comes to the house, I watch to see what they're doing so that when they leave, I can continue it. Because my child with this autism thing, she is not going to be stereotyped and pigeonholed into anything. So whatever I need to do, she is going to either grow it out or do very well with it. So with that said, she is now going to be 4 in August. She went from not speaking at all to started talking 8 months ago. And when she started talking, it wasn't 1 or 2 words. She just read a book for me. She just read the book. She said, "Mommy." She said, "Mommy, read it." I opened the book to read to her, and Africa started saying the words that she was looking at. I always noticed her obsession with her tablet. She listens to the ABC over and over, the song over and over. And I noticed that she has an obsession with the letters. And because she has an obsession with the letters, and this is a beautiful thing about children with autism, they are brilliant. Because she has the obsession with the letters, she loves them. And when she sees them in words, it makes her automatically want to spell the word. And then after she spell it, she wants to sound it out. So she's now saying the word. So yes, she might walk on her toes and might not have great eye contact and repeat everything 3-4 times. But she is a brilliant reader at 3.5 years old. Right. Seeing the help she got is what made me decide to do Autism Awesomeness. Because I remember as a child going to primary school on Walton Park Road, a lot of the children in my class were called slow, backwards, fool, dunce. Nobody was ever called autistic or on the spectrum of autism. Why were those children slower? Why are they called dunce? Why you feel like them fool? Why them called bad? Because when we see kids throwing, because my daughter used to throw tantrums, but the tantrums isn't because she's bad. It's because she can't tell me what she wants. And she's trying to communicate with me, and I cannot understand, and I can't read her mind. She gets frustrated. Right. And that's why they started teaching her sign language first. Because the moment, I didn't even know you had to teach a child how to point. The moment she was able to just point to the juice or point to the food, her frustration level went down, and the tantrums got less. So I said, you know what? With all the children that are being called dunce and fool at Jamaica, I'm going to have them evaluated. And I'm going to have them evaluated by the therapist that helped my child. And in order to raise funds for that, I'm going to write about my daughter's experience. And I'm going to have people buy the book. And I'm going to use the money, and I'm going to take people, all the therapists, the psychologists, the ABA teacher, the speech therapist, and the physical therapist to Jamaica to give free evaluations for children 6 months to 5 years old. Because that's one thing with America that I've noticed. Everything that I mentioned my daughter is receiving is free. We don't have nothing like that. So I'm going to create it. And if I can't get help from the bigger heads, I'm going to do it myself. Because if I'm on the radio and I'm influential, then I'm going to speak about something that needs attention for people to help me to get this done. So my inspiration behind writing Autism Awesomeness is my child. My little girl that I watch go from 0 to 85% in about a year and a half because she got help. So I also want to encourage people in Jamaica, parents, to not feel bad about your child having autism. And I can say that because I was one of those parents. I didn't want to carry her anywhere because we never want to have to explain to people why she's doing the things she's doing. I didn't want to have to explain to people why this little girl that looks like she's 4 years old will not respond to you when you speak to her. I didn't want to have to explain myself because I was prideful. So that is also something that I'm advocating. I would also like to set up a support group for parents going, because it's not easy, but you have to just stick with it and love them and give them the help they need and admit it to yourself that they need help. So that is definitely the inspiration behind Autism Awesomeness, is the fact that kids can get results if their parents allow them to.
That's right.
Yes, I'm going to stop now.
Thank you.